This episode is brought to you by SafeJet, the operators of the anti-dump mechanism that you see all other DeFi projects copying. SafeJet is the safest coin in the crypto game, protecting you from your whales and chart manipulators. That way your investment is still there in the morning. Free travel, cash giveaways, an experienced and doxed team also lets you lock, fly, and land with SafeJet. For more information, visit safejet.io, link in the description below.
$9,240,000,000.
Stacking my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Stacking my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash.
It's your boy Crypto Blood. Let's get it, people. Let's go.
Since I was born, stacking my coin. These niggas pop, my money keep growing. Your girl is a dot, she all on my groin.
The livest crypto live stream in the game. Episode 82 off the chain. Let's go, people. Let's go.
She blowing my horn, you fucking born. These rappers is whack, they lyrics is
Tonight, we've got Trekk with 2Ks on with us and Seth from Mind Your Biz. Let's give them a round of applause, people. Let's go.
You get this money, it never get born. I'm loading my strap, they call.
Make sure you guys go follow them in the description of this video. Let's go.
Fuck around on your clap, for running your job. If it ain't about the dollars, then it don't make sense.
Is the bear market over? That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And also, we can't forget, Celsius finally dies. Of course, this is something that shouldn't shock any of us, but what are the ramifications of this in today's market? Will that have an impact on this rally we're starting to see in the markets? We saw it in stocks. We're seeing it in cryptos as well. What does this mean for us? Is the bear market over? We will have that discussion on tonight's episode. Let's go.
Groundwater, but it ain't from flake. Trying to chase all this bread, though the shit won't last. About to shut the city down like a crypto crash. Stacking my coin.
We're seeing an influx in crypto tumblers. What does that mean? So tumblers, if you guys don't know, it's the way you mix your coins up so that the blockchain doesn't know what is going on with your funds. Let's talk about this with Seth. I'm sure he's got a lot to say about it on tonight's episode. Let's go.
Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Stacking my coin.
If you've been under a rock, you might not know that Sri Lanka is about to go bankrupt. They're just on the brink. The president has fled the country, but yet they are putting out a warning against citizens buying cryptos. Wow, we shouldn't be surprised, right?
Stacking my coin. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash.
Also, will the Fed raise interest rates only 75 basis points, or will they go for the honey bun this time? We saw inflation hit a 40-year high, 9.1 print on inflation CPI. Can we benefit from this, or is it all over? Are they going to pull the plug and let the markets go ham? Let's talk about it tonight. Let's go.
Smoking on that crippy got me cliff high. Steam pot, heat rock, slingshot. Surfing through the city while them chips rise. Hot boy.
Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We about to get this joint started. Holla!
Element with my summer bay, we booed up. Cali hit the bay, we fly MIA, we pulled up. The roof up.
Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Box nigga Snapchat. Fucking with the ops and get you
Fucking
clapped
thing
back.
sucks. We'll do it live.
All right, ladies and gents, we are doing it live. Welcome to another live stream off the chain, episode 82. I've got some of my good friends in the crypto space with me tonight. Shout out to Jay Crypto Minded, one of the premium paid members on the YouTube channel. Hey man, I messaged you. You won that Arculus wallet, so we need you to respond with an address so we can get that over to you, bro. Or we gotta pass it on to the next person. Man, great panel we got tonight. If you want to call it a panel, I'll just call it my fellas tuning in. Minho's in the building. Shout out to Minho. It's kind of late for you, bro, over there in the UK. What you doing up, man? Right? What's it? No, it's about 10 o'clock. Ain't too bad, right? But let's go ahead and get these guys in. First, I want to have my man Trekk jump in. Trekk, what's going on with you, brother? You got your thing muted, so gotta do
I was paying attention today.
What's up with you, bro?
Life is happening, bro. Being busy, trying to tinker and, basically trial and error while failing forward. Did a little DAO thing with my homeboy 3D. So we about to get a little bit of word out on that. We also doing a digital realty Metaverse related webinar on the 20th that you can find that on Eventbrite. And I'm working on building an app this weekend. So yeah,
Man, that's a lot in one week. Where can they find you, bro?
You can follow me Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's just what it says: TREKKW2KS. It catches me everywhere.
There you go. My man Seth from Mind Your Biz. He's got his hat on. He said to go with the hat or not. He went with the hat, ladies and gentlemen. One day I'm gonna go ahead and go without the hat too. So you guys can see what's under this D-Town hat. This peanut head of mine. Trekk, what's going on? I mean, Mind Your Biz, Seth. What's going on with you, bro?
Oh my gosh, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times, Blood. You know how it is when we get into these bear markets, the opportunities, like Trekk was saying, they keep coming out of the woodwork. People looking for help who know that if you're serious about this space, you're serious about building now. And so now, as a consultant, as a person who's building, who's hustling, it's busier than ever. And man, I'm here for it. I'm so happy to be tired. It's a blessing in disguise.
It is. And how can they find you on Twitter, man?
On Twitter, it's at @mindyour_biz, and I changed my handle here as well in celebration of TikTok because I like you, Blood. I'm trying to build over on TikTok, so it's just Mind Your Biz there. It's actually Mind Your Biz everywhere except for Twitter. Some knucklehead picked up Mind Your Biz years ago and got himself banned, so I can't even get that handle.
Same with me.
Wow.
Someone took the Crypto Blood handle on Twitter and the account is suspended. So it's Crypto Blood _ on TikTok, on Twitter. But you know what? It's not that on Instagram though, on IG. My man, Mind Your Biz, has been doing. I don't know if you've seen this guy, Trekk. He does like 9 videos a day on TikTok. I don't know. I can't even keep up watching them, let alone doing as many videos as him. How do you do it, man?
Honestly, just batching. It's like everything else that in business processes, man. You got to batch them. You just do. Otherwise, yeah, they'll take you under. Just like running a typical brick and mortar business, if you're not batching your receipts, if you're not batching, right, like credit card processing, if you're not batching your accounts payable, accounts receivable, it's just it takes over your life, right? When you're doing it piecemeal. So TikTok is like that. It's a bit more systematic. And it's honestly, it's no more than about maybe 30 minutes in a day. It's not as much as you might think.
Yeah, batching definitely works. I try to batch when I can on the YouTube side, 3 at a time if I can. But it's hard, man, because with YouTube, I try to do like daily news updates. So it's kind of hard there. That's why I'm starting to do live streams, ladies and gentlemen, for my 2 Satoshi video. So, Trekk, you're a batcher.
I mean, yeah, like I was saying,
it's an eligible batcher.
An eligible batcher.
Yeah, you so stupid. I was saying to somebody earlier, I was like, yeah, like the Sundays have turned into somehow to be my content day. Like I already have to record weekend crypto for the Gentlemen of Crypto segment that I do with them, and then like it ends up dragging over into some of the stuff that I do for my 2 Satoshis on your channel, and also like some of the things I'm working on with the Simple Crypto channel, which is the new 3rd channel that I'm doing just voiceover work for. And yeah, but I have to still think of the things during the week though, and still like track what's going on. But the actual making it and editing it seems to fall on the weekend now, so I don't really go anywhere.
Shout out to Dow Jones for the super chat. Appreciate it. He said, great content, bro. Thanks for what you guys do. We appreciate you. Definitely, we appreciate you. So tonight, we got a lot to talk about. Trekk said, we ain't getting through this whole list.
Bruh, when I seen it, I was like, what? Nah, man, this ain't happening.
Hey, it's a hard stop at 2 hours. It doesn't matter. So we don't get through everything, but I think we will, because some of those bullet points are not like full on topics. They kind of accompany some of the other main topics that we're going to be talking about tonight. But where do you guys want to start?
Actually, the first time, let me start with a shout out. Dapper Damon says hello, blood. Dapper Damon from out.
Yeah.
So,
Fellow
yeah,
Michigander. I know he's not in Michigan anymore, but shout out to Dapper.
Yeah, he's sold out. He's in South Florida now. Boom.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell out with him too. That sounds like a bad idea to me.
Yeah, no, South Florida is great. I mean, yeah, well, I mean, you can stay there, and as soon as they give you the advisory, just hang out with the fam back elsewhere. But yeah, shout out to Dapper Damon. Had a great chat with him and a couple other people that we're doing some building with. There's some notables in this space, man, and they keep turning up at shows because they're putting in work. So yeah, so I wanted to throw that out there.
No doubt. And PB says, thanks for the video, CB. By the way, is it a bull run or trap? We're going to talk about that on tonight's episode. So stick around and we'll get some valuable opinions from Seth. Not so much Trekk, because he don't talk price. Allegedly. Supposedly.
Some say. Trekk
some
does
say.
Not
Some say. But yeah, thanks guys again for tuning in. Let's go ahead and let's jump it off with what we're seeing with the Federal Reserve. Actually, I want to start with Spain. Let's start with Spain because this is something that I haven't really spoken on, guys, in regards to where you should be bottom feeding, because no one knows where the bottom is. But I think something like Meta land, NFTs that are associated with land plots, to me, is a win-win long term, because you're going to see, and I think there was I don't know if Goldman and Sachs said this, but they believe that the metaverse sector alone within the blockchain industry is going to be a $1 trillion industry by itself. 1 trillion by it. So we're the entire I don't know by when. That's important. I don't know the date they think that's going to happen, but this one here, Seth, I think is interesting. Spain is possibly looking to incentivize individuals to build on and in the metaverse. And this article is talking about Decentraland possibly, kind of winning from that initiative that they have over there, because Decentraland is lagging. I didn't know this. They're lagging behind Sandbox. What are your thoughts about just the metaverse plot game and strategy in your opinion in this bear market?
I think as a general strategy, it's sound, just for the reasons you were saying before, Blood. I mean, land development, we saw this in 2008, right? Those of us who were paying attention or were trying to hold on to property, trying to keep from having our portfolios be upside down on the tail end of the economic downturn between 07, say 2010-ish. Those were perilous times. And having the option to pick up cheap land at that time when the real estate bubble began to pop from the coasts inward, and it's say like around 07, moving into the big downturn in 08, that was a really sound strategy for people who were into real estate. Now, here we are, fast forward to today with the option to do it virtually. Of course, no brainer. I think like the fundamentals there are sound. So being able to develop some of those properties though in the metaverse, that's the big question. Will these platforms be around long enough? Do they have the correct partnerships to be able to have that longevity? Will there be enough perceived value from the public as there's more adoption in metaverses that your efforts there aren't wasted? It'd be like buying beachfront property on, say, the Bikini Atoll. Like, cool, it's beachfront property, but it's radioactive because we do nuclear testing there, right? Like, You got to know that you're building in the right place. That's the big gamble. It's the big question. So either this pays off like ridiculous for the country of Spain and Decentraland, or it's nothing at all and it's like nuked, like that example of the Bikini Atoll. So yeah, I think it's going to go one of those two ways, no in between.
Trekk.
Okay. Okay. So how did I take this article? This is basically, at least how I look at it, the Spanish government trying to find a way to get businesses to develop within their jurisdiction. And once you start getting enough of the businesses to develop in your jurisdiction, then you start having enough money for your coffers, because they realize they need another source of money coming in based on this internet thing, right? Now, will it only be Decentraland? I don't think so, because every country, not every country, but a number of countries actually have programs for if you're looking to do like citizenship and residency programs there. And this is one of those things that they'll do is like, well, if you come over here and you develop a business and you hire locals, we'll let you get the residency thing for like 3 years or 5 years or whatever, or this will be your path to citizenship. I think that this could play into that. As far as the other thing with is Decentraland the thing, yeah, Decentraland had arguably first mover advantage. And it is known, yeah. But one of the things that got me in this article was like, what was it that they said? Something about, where was it? It was basically like it's the second biggest one. What are we talking about in second biggest one? Because if you aren't actually in the space and messing around with these different ecosystems, let's say, with these different environments and protocols, as far as blockchain related metaverses go, even arguably just in general for metaverses, because you don't need a blockchain for it to be a metaverse, right? But if you're saying, what is it the biggest of? Are we talking about trading volume? And yeah, okay, Sandbox had it because, you know, they had their pump with the whole Snoop Dogg thing. But is it going to make a difference come 2024 and 2025 when the regulators really start moving in and then people start really having to figure out, like, what does this really mean to biz development within the virtual space? Like, we're really just seeing the upscale and a new evolution of there's, oh, I have a website on the internet. Now it's going to be, oh, I have a virtual space in the metaverse. Who gets to be that thing? Or is it going to be like you have exposure in all of the, like, let's say top 3 or top 5 metaverses, depending on how big your pocket is or depending on how technologically inclined you are. And this is part of why we're doing the webinar on the July 20th to teach people about these different things of, it doesn't have to be a blockchain, but there's other ways that you can monetize this space besides holding the coins, besides being a coder, besides trying to flip and trade the NFTs and all that stuff. There's other things that you could do. But, you know, that's just me.
Yeah, good points there. I think this is a great play. As you stated, maybe buying plots of land in the top 3. You know, I did cover and kind of talk about the whole not OpenSea, but Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, the other side, that whole situation. And, you know, that I'm not going to buy any land over there, but, you know, I think that's going to probably be big. People are going to forget about the whole neo-Nazi stuff, but other side is going to be pretty huge. I think, you know, and I ask you this, Seth, is it better to buy a coin in these double down on coins or buy a plot of land if you had to pick?
Gosh, I mean, you're asking either or, and blood.
Yeah.
My mind is right at this point. At this point of the bear market cycle and building, my mind is completely focused on yes and. Like you gotta live hand to mouth. Use use both hands, right? That's what I'm trying to say, right? Like, use both hands. Like, land, coins, tokens, NFTs. Yes, sir. May I have another? Like, thank you. I'm about all of it right now. I'm trying to get into as much as I can, but like, depending on the ecosystem too, right? There are some of these metaverses that have the value-added ecosystems, the value-added tokens that allow for some governance, that allow for some transactions, right? Native use, to be able to purchase items, to be able to purchase the land itself, to do any kind of improvements in the metaverse. So it's going to be really hard to decouple just the land plots from the tokens. So that's a reality too.
I just think if I had to pick, I would go with plots of land because there's more economic, I think, value long term. So what I mean by economic value, if I buy a coin, there's no actual yield on that coin unless I go put it in a DeFi protocol and extract yield that way, which is a possibility. But I just feel like if I buy a plot of land, or if someone out there buys a plot of land in 3 to 4 years, it's a gamble. Any option is a risk, but I'm just thinking, like, if you hit it, you're going to hit it out the park. Not only is your plot of land value going to go up, but how you can monetize that plot of land, to me,
that's what I was going to say.
You get what I'm saying?
The utility for the land, there's more utility to the land, but there's more liquidity in the token or coin.
Sure.
Depending on how their system is set up for their tokenomics. Because you can exit faster on the token or coin, versus with the land, like depending on how their thing is set up for the sale or buy or purchasing or whatever of the land, like that's a smaller pool of people versus how many people are on the exchanges moving around with the different the coins and tokens. So yeah.
Yes, Red River Post Sheeb is doing a metaverse. I remember I actually covered that. So I don't know where they are with that and how that's coming along.
Are they though? Like that is the question, right? Like, are they really delivering anything? Because I think
know.
Sheeb also promised a smart chain too, right? Smart contract capable chain. Where is it? Can I deploy a smart contract and pay in Sheeb right now?
Yeah,
be interesting.
I will have to say, you know, crypto X on is definitely right. We gotta let the kids are gonna decide. You know, we gotta follow what the kids do, and that'll tell us which of these metaverses is gonna be the top one.
The kids are dumb though. They play like Roblox and Fortnite.
No, I don't believe that, bro. I literally have
really
no, because
I gotta agree with them, bro. Go ahead.
I don't think it's gonna be the kids because, all right. It's one thing for exploration, right? It's one thing for the, ooh, look at this thing. But when you're actually trying to figure out how do I make the sustainable business model off of this audience base, you're not looking at the 12-year-old who's still in middle school or the 21-year-old who's still dealing with college and trying to figure out what their career is going to be after they graduate out. Like, it's the same thing in the other parts of the real world. Like, you're looking at the people who are already in their career fields or who have more sustainable income.
So, Trekk, are you trying to say that the markets are decided by middle-aged white women? Is that what you're trying to say here?
We know who holds the purses in the household, like, or who holds the bank.
If it's you can't say purses because you know, nowadays, you know, the husband might have a purse. The right thing. You know, now all the men wearing these crossbody they're just purses. They're just purses, guys.
I said persons.
Oh, persons. Oh,
but we know, like, okay, you're right in regards to what do they call them now? Oh man, not man satchels.
I mean, I just call them a clutch because I mean,
fanny
whatever.
packs.
Everybody's like, yeah, it's a clutch.
Hey, okay.
Sounds good.
Hey, you wait. Trekk, you wear them.
I do it across the chest, though. It's a little bit more manly.
Oh my god.
A little bit.
Oh my god. So you guys, this is interesting that you feel like, you know, the kids won't be deciding which wave is the future. Did the kids decide on TikTok? The kids decided that TikTok was going to be hot. Am I correct?
They did, but then it got run over by it got overrun by, again, I'm not going to make it weird. It's kind of weird because the demographics kind of lean that direction because it isn't just middle-aged white women, but it is working class women between the ages of like 25 and 35. They took over on TikTok. Well, they really did. And once they did, they started doing all the little booty dances that the 13 and 14-year-old girls were doing. And then it was like, oh, it's not cool anymore, but everybody's using it. Like, what just happened? It's crazy. So it's not so much that it's just like one demographic thing, but it is kind of like it's kind of like the pink tax, or like selling like feminine hygiene products. If you can sell to that demographic, it will win because they spend money. Like Trekk was saying, he was right about following the money, I think.
Yeah. Jay Crypto Miner said kids decide games, so why not digital assets? I'm with you. Listen, I gotta stand my ground. Jay Crypto Minded, Crypto X on. I gotta agree with you guys. We're just gonna have to disagree. I don't know. Okay. We'll see. We'll definitely see. Well, like I said, go ahead.
I'm making a joke. I mean, I'm for conversation's sake and to keep it spicy tonight, I'm taking that side of the debate, but I think that it will be kind of like mosaic influence. There will be, of course, like the younger generation having a say in it because they're always telling their parents they want to be able to participate in certain kinds of video games and digital experiences. But I really do think that at the end of the day, like Trekk is saying, it's going to come down to where there's the most liquidity in markets to actually fund all this stuff. And that is going to come from working class people. So whether they are like, you know, dinks, dual income, no kids, or they're single parents, or, you know, or whatever, like it's going to come from that large pool of liquidity. Hopefully the middle class survives this economic downturn because it might get finished off, but that's probably where the money's going to come from.
Gotcha. Good points. Good points. So let's take a look at what Celsius is going. This is nonsense, man. This story just gets weirder and weirder as it unfolds. To be honest with you, so finally, I didn't get a chance to, or Trekk either, get a chance to cover this during the week on CBTV. But Celsius finally went bankrupt, guys. They filed Chapter 11. Wow. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised, of course. But Trekk, what are your thoughts on what's to come after this? The fallout from Celsius going bankrupt. Do you think there are others out there still clinging on, trying to hold out, trying to get funding privately to stay afloat and not show their pants? Let us know what your thoughts are on Celsius going bankrupt.
So I'm not gonna lie, no cap. I threw a couple of cents in there. I didn't go crazy because I'm not out here balling like some folks being in, YouTube videos and things like that. But I did try. It didn't work for me because I didn't have the bank for it, right? Bottom line. I saw certain things happening before this, even before Bitcoin Miami. There was things that was going on before then that if you weren't paying attention, you weren't paying attention. But they were doing certain things, like they were changing where they were registered in the States. They were changing the terms of service. Like, one of the things I noticed over COVID to now is terms of service seem to be changing for a lot of the companies in the space, like every 6 to 9 months. There's some upgrade. And in relation to like the Celsius situation, I still think it's a matter of the revenue model didn't work, and I don't think scam. Because I really do think this whole entire space is nothing but the exploration, especially because we're more focused on the financial side of it, the get in the bag side of it. It is a whole bunch of rapid iterations, experimentations of finding a revenue model that works to allow people to use the technology to make gains. Like, that's how I look at the financial side of this thing. That's being X amount ignorant of the technology side of it because everybody wants to chase the bag, or at least that's how it's marketed. Alex's setup, it ran for as long as it did. I also think, though, that there might be some people who are sitting on the back end going, oh, y'all are doing the same thing that they did in traditional finance and intermingling money between your user base's money, your investment money, your revenue money, in and around on the back end at different tiers. And somebody sat back and was like, oh, it's like a spider web. I'm gonna just plug this side of it and screw everyone up. Or not everyone, but at least certain people who didn't have sound business models. So this was one of those, it had the sunset on it, but no one wanted to call it.
Man, it was all good just a week ago.
Right.
Me, Trekk and I were partying with Alex down in Miami, had our chest hairs out. We were just having a ball. And then 4 or 5 months later, here we go. This is funny, though, because I have a highlighted comment here from J Crypto Mind. He said they filed bankruptcy after using other people's money to pay off certain loans first. Seth, is this an accurate statement to you?
Yes, it is. And it's worse than that. Some of the stuff coming out of this whole bankruptcy, because we're starting to get pieces of the, not an official story, right? They had PR stuff kind of astroturfing all this up to the point of Chapter 11 filing. Once you go public, though, you got to go public all the way. So we're starting to see stuff like a $1.2 billion shortfall in their books. Blood. It's just like, this is a gaping hole in their finance. So for them to be paying off this tiny little loan first, it's like, okay, well, what can we do on chain to make sure that we don't like break the chain and destroy everybody's confidence in DeFi? So they're kind of doing the responsible thing there, but not, they're not even 10% of the way done making their users whole. So yeah, yes, they definitely are using other people's money to pay off certain loans. But it would be really great if they could use other people's money to pay back everything they owe, and they're not going to do it. It's going to take a while.
Okay, two ironies of this situation as it speaks to the bigger thing. One, we market, we promote, we talk about the transparency of Bitcoin, and no, it's not Bitcoin, but as of the blockchain. The funny, not haha funny, but the irony of, even though we talk about this whole transparency thing, and like that's the ideals of this space, the business side of this space is anything but transparent. Look at BlockFi, look at Celsius, look at 3AC, look at Terra, like all of the back end business stuff that's not on chain that you can't just look at and like, okay, I can plainly see how this entity is connected to that entity and how this entity did a business deal with that entity. None of that's on chain, and that's the part of the space that is starting to irk me more and more, that we market transparency, but on the back end, it is anything but transparent. And then the other part of this is, this does not mean that Alex and his co-founders end up being poor. This only means that they have to deal with reconstructing the business, which from how I'm hearing it, because I was watching an interview with Simon Dixon the other day, he was one of the early big name investor people in it. And my takeaway was, they'll try to do the restructuring. More than likely, it's not going to play out the way that, you know, the business survives. And they're going to end up liquidating everything, but it's not going to be anything at the retail level, as far as like who gets something. And then Alex, come 2025, 2026, will be in a new business, or, you know, he'll be a part of a new C-suite level structure. And we all move on in the space. And those of us who've been around long enough to remember, we'll be like, oh yeah, I remember Alex when he did blah, blah, blah. But the newbies are going to come in and be like, oh yeah, I got to be in that, because, you know, that guy, he invented, what's the name of the thing? Voice.
C-Fi?
No, no. The voice thing.
No
yeah,
file?
VR. Yeah. Like, that's the narrative that's going to carry forward. He gets a little blemish, but give it a 2 to 3 years max, he gets to pop up on another company, you know, C-suite level thing again, and we all move forward. Like,
oh yeah, we'll get Do Kwon for sure by Alex sometime soon, where we just forget and we're like, oh, did anything go wrong?
Do you
And
think,
he's on the
are
board
we
somewhere.
being too hard on Alex on this one?
Sorry, no, not hard enough, not nearly.
Oh, not hard enough.
Hard enough, blood. No,
that's what she said.
So, yeah, just saying. I think yes, we do need to go a little deeper on this one, blood. Now you bring that up. So, as far as whether or not we're being hard enough on Alex, on the backside of all this, like there was a lot of backdoor dealing. There was an account that is run by Jason Stone on Twitter that did a full expose, also linking to their filing in the state of New York on the part of their investment group. They had the most shoddy legal infrastructure set in place, like corporate entity set up to be able to start doing degen trades on chain. They were not using centralized platforms. They were the brokers that were doing the decentralized lending and decentralized trading for Celsius. And this was in the form of an unsecured loan to this group. I mean, there's so many things that went wrong here, blood. But yeah, Jason Stone, he went public with this stuff. It's all out there, including their filing. They're suing Celsius. But
I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like a lot of people are looking at would you compare Alex to Do Kwon? Are they? I did
as a joke. I wouldn't exactly. I did as a joke, but no, that's not quite that level. I don't. But I mean, part of that is just I guess my thing is,
it was Celsius a Ponzi? Was it a Ponzi scheme?
I mean, it sure operated like one. They're not able to pay back their obligations.
No, you're right. It is a
money.
Ponzi scheme. No, I guess this is how I should phrase this question. Do you think he deliberately wanted to like extract all the money and run off to Cayman Islands or something like I feel like he was delusional in that, thinking that the market was going to continue to go up, or that the drawdown wasn't going to be this significant where they could at least hedge their bets or not be caught off guard. I don't feel like it was nefarious, I guess was what I'm saying. I don't think his intention was to be this outcome.
I would go with the latter of what you said. Like, sorry to cut you, mine, but like I would go with the latter of what you said, as far as like like we've talked to him in different occasions, right? We've seen how the business has grown. Like he hired like engineers, he hired tech people, he hired like, you know, HR, like he did the things to quote build out X amount of the parts that are needed to run a business. There's a whole thing about the finance side, but like, was it the full, like, was it a malicious intention? I'm agree with you on that. But I guess that also, I forgot who I was talking about this with, where it's like you have the idea, you start to get the momentum, things move X amount fast. If you have investors and stuff like that, and the VC folks, like they are having a certain expectation and they start bringing in their heat and pressure on you. And so here it is. You also got to keep it with the Joneses because you're in this competition with the other companies that are doing your thing. And then next thing you know, you look and you be like, yo, how did we get here? We're doing 1 million, blah, blah, blah. And the other thing that I keep saying to folks, and I'm going to keep saying this, PR releases, AMAs, fireside chats, like Q&As, none of those damn things are done under oath. They're all about sound bites and marketing confidence. Like that's literally the purpose of those things. So when shit doesn't go to what they said on stage or what they said in the interview, guess what? That's what that's what it is.
Yeah, this is.
I'm going to agree with you both there as well. I'll just put in my 2 cents here, but I don't think that it was malicious per se, but it was negligent and I mean typically negligence and ineptitude, right? Like what's the word I'm looking for here? Mediocrity, like just having some really bad choices, right? Like there was some ineptitude that choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like whether or not he had malicious intent or was nefarious, like a couple of these things were done so poorly, blood, that it's just not going to matter at the end of the day because you're going to have hundreds of millions that go unpaid for a really long time, hurting retail in the most personal way in crypto. No less. Where we thought we were safe from all this.
Right. It definitely was a Ponzi scheme. Let's just start there, because we saw what happened. I mean, if you don't have more funds to come in to pay out that 8% to everyone that's already drawing on that or looking for that, then it stops, and that's essentially what happened, you know. So it was a Ponzi scheme for sure. People definitely conflate Ponzi scheme with pyramid scheme. A little bit different in my opinion. But let me get to some of these comments here. Comments are on fleek tonight. Look at this. I heard a guy lost $401,000 in Celsius. Hi, good one there, buddy. Good one. El Cryptomatic said when they put auto hodl mode on, I was out. I didn't hear about that one. Trekk, you said you had a couple dollars in there.
I had cents, bro. I had cents. You had dollars, okay?
You had a couple satoshis in there. Did you see the auto hodl mode at any point?
I don't even remember that one because I just stopped. Like at a certain point, like when certain things started messing around last year, I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna start pulling back, like, and so I did. I started pulling back, and that's why when we had this conversation, I think the last live stream about like, well, you know, what do you tell people when they ask you like, what do you do? And I'm like, don't follow me. I leave money on the table all the time. I'm not the one to ask for financial advice.
Yeah, this was a good one too. Here, Sean C, New World Crypto. Shout out to him. He said Alex Mashinsky has gone from partying in Miami like Tony Montana to going door to door selling Herbalife. You want to know something funny? Herbalife is here. Broke. He's not. You're right.
He's not.
Herbalife is here in Detroit this weekend. They had like some big ass convention. Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of Herbalife people. So shout out to.
And speaking of the distinction between the Ponzi versus pyramid,
yes,
MLM versus
yes, exactly. Shout out to Reggie, man. Reggie's in the building tonight. Thanks for tuning in, Reggie Middleton. The DeFi, what do they call him? God of DeFi? King of DeFi? What is his title?
I don't know, but I would stay away from a name like Jesus because inevitably they're going to crucify you. Really, it happened. They did it to Roger Ver, man. You can never let him call you Jesus because you're going to turn into Judas eventually.
Oh man, all I want to know is this Celsius thing. How does that relate to Reggie's patent? That's really at the end of the day. Is all
there
that
we
matters.
go.
Mm-hmm.
That is the
BP
question.
said big connect. Yeah, man. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think there are some more. I actually think this is the worst of it, Seth. I think, we may see a couple more fold, but I don't see it. I guess it depends on if we take another leg down, we'll get to that in tonight's episode. If
I
we
worry
take
about
another
that, Lug.
50, huh?
I worry about that.
Really?
It's like, I mean, never ask, can it get worse? Because that's like the point at which like friggin' falling airplane parts hit your house or something. Like, just don't ask. Don't tempt fate. It can always get worse.
I mean, if
It really
we go
can.
lower, if we, everyone's talking 10K now in Bitcoin. Yeah, definitely. You're gonna see some more people's pants nowhere to be found. So we'll definitely have to wait on that and see. But if we don't go any lower, I should say it that way, Seth. If we don't go any lower, I don't see too much more of a fallout from any companies that are currently insolvent. We'll see, though. This is a good point that I wanted to highlight and get your feedback on, guys. Crypto is a greater fool scam. Isn't everything? Think about it. Just about every market is a greater fool scam. Your house,
Social Security.
That's the first thing I was going to say.
Security, stocks. Someone needs to come in and buy it at a higher price in order for your investment to pan out. It is what it is. So I don't know if it's just crypto, but good point though. Let's move on to the next article, which is drum roll. We've got Sri Lanka. Wow, man, this is an interesting one.
Which one did you go with?
What's that?
This rabbit hole is deep too.
There was two Sri Lankan ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, this one is kind of just talking about Sri Lanka warning against. They had the mitigated gall to warn against their citizens buying cryptocurrencies.
You know what that is, right?
No shit, Sherlock. I know you don't want them to buy cryptocurrencies because, I mean, I think they're down 80%. Their currency is down 80%. Now, granted, cryptos are down a significant amount as well, but at least they're not under the control or influence directly of a corrupt. Basically, what do you call them? It was the whole family that was running Sri Lanka, right?
Right.
You're not under the control of them and whatever decisions they decide to make. Trekk, what do you got to say?
So, in regards to this particular article, this is basically capital flight control. I've been saying this for months now. You're going to start seeing them pop up in different countries in different ways. We had the China situation earlier this month on how they did something with their central bank. This is just another example of pushing that narrative of, hey, in your local country, don't mess with the crypto thing, even though your native currency is tanking or like totally just being decimated. Don't exit out of your local economic system. That's what that is.
Yeah, and they're saying they're citing their warning here is that it's largely unregulated. Well, look at what your regulated currency did. Your regulated not foreign, but domestic policy. Seth, what's your take on this whole situation with first Sri Lanka warning against their citizens buying cryptocurrencies?
I think Trekk hit the nail on the head there. I don't have a whole lot to add of value other than to say, like, yeah, we're going to see this as a trend continuing. Sri Lanka is just one of the canaries in the coal mine. And I mean, hopefully we don't see those kinds of shenanigans in more developed nations throughout the world. But I guess I'm hoping against hope. I think we're going to see more governments do this for the reasons that Trekk said.
So what are your takes on just this whole situation, period, as far as Sri Lanka, going bankrupt? We had the president or whatever, prime minister, whatever you call him, he's just fled the country. The Rajapaksa's, is that it?
Yo, okay.
I
don't know how to say his name.
But they've been in power for a while, and he's pretty much got the whole Wu-Tang clan. I mean, the whole crew is in there or was in there from the top to the bottom. Trekk.
So, all right. I don't know all of the daily ins and outs, right? But there's like one or two things that I feel like I'm kind of aware of enough. The part about changing into or limiting pesticides within their domestic food. That is
That's all in the-
arguably that was a smart move. But if you go on this article, they're basically ridiculing him and say, hey, because you didn't stay in bed with Monsanto and them, you helped mess up your country. Now, if you look arguably at what Russia did, right? They stopped doing non-organic stuff a couple of years back. So when that whole situation happened with McDonald's and Burger King and X amount of the other big food chain companies, like, hey, we're going to pull out. And they're like, all right, bet. Burger King folks was like, you could do it if you want to, but you're not going to mess us up. As opposed to like someplace else in Europe or someplace else in Asia. The point being is they were food stable. They were self-sustaining in their food thing. Considering this situation in the larger African continent context of like how much food do they import, is going back to pesticide-aided grown food going to help the local people? On the end of, can you afford it as a farmer? Will you be able to have sustainable crops with the whole climate thing going on? And then are you going to be able to sell it at retail and still make like survivable money? I don't see that. Based on the other things that I pay attention to, like that was one thing that stuck out to me in this article. And then it seems like they're just going to end up going back into a bigger debt with the IMF and
India's loaned them some credit lines as well. But mind your biz, I think you may have talked on this subject on Debate Crypto this week. I'm not sure if you did or not. Kind of give us your two satoshis on it.
Yeah, so I mean, this one, it really strikes a chord with me. I've got a couple of extended family members who have been independent American farmers, and I mean, growing food is a noble pursuit. I think we can all agree. Like, if you can grow enough food for yourself, for your family, and for others, like the world needs that. It's always needed that. So it's a very special thing. But in Sri Lanka, moving away not just from the glyphosate, Monsanto, like Roundup stuff that's and all of the genetically modified seed stock, but also moving away from chemical fertilizers, dropped their yield by over 30%. In some cases, for certain crops, dropped their crop yield by upwards of 70%. They shot themselves in the foot by adhering to a narrative and and what's become extremely popular in government right now, a narrative of ESG. And ESG, these are the fruits of ESG. They had an ESG compliance score, blood, of 98 out of 100. They were 98% doing everything right. So why are they starving? Because they used the wrong metric, because they were trying to chase down this ESG score. When you move away from things that help you to produce enough food for your people, you're going to stop producing enough food for your people. Full stop. And unfortunately, the ESG narrative, I think you hit the nail on the head, Blood, when you said Trekk, did you mention now they've got to turn to the IMF and they got to go take a toxic loan? That was the goal the entire time.
Yeah, that's what IMF does. They do that in every country that they, these countries sell their soul, essentially, knowing it's almost like they go and point out or look for and search for countries that they know that can't pay that loan back. And they give them that loan, and the collateral for that loan is physical land, valuable things that they can take from these countries.
Yeah, but Blood, I'm gonna jump in here real fast and just say, but who moved the goalpost to ESG? Characters who do business with the IMF. The IMF is an interested party in promoting this narrative of ESG compliance. Why? Because this is a long game, right? Like, this is what they get out of it. By getting people to getting countries to say oh, no, we've got a strong focus on ESG and we're doing better. Well, how does the United States stack up on ESG? Lord. We're only at 51 out of 100. Our score is not that great. And I sincerely hope we never pursue it to the level that Sri Lanka did, because we'll be in serious trouble if we do.
I feel like we're heading that way. I mean, you got Biden talking about it's good that prices are higher, gas prices are higher, because we need to transition to EV.
Bro,
it's good that he fell off a bike. Do more of that.
Listen, man, the
Hey,
signaling is real.
I'm
That's
doing the
coming
air,
out of some of these
the air
folks.
handshake. Trekk, what's your take, man? Any last points on this?
Man, like I said, like it's a sad scenario to see the setup, and there was folks that was saying like don't do it because look at the track record, but you know, the people who are being some of these people who are in positions are basically just selling out their local countrymen.
Yep.
We have some of the same stuff playing out here in the States, so I can't even say nothing.
So we have, it looks like, a dozen or more countries that are pretty much set up for the same scenario, the same outcome. They're in the
Great
danger
segue.
zone. Yeah, they're in the danger zone with, owing debt to the IMF, and just their debt to GDP is out of control. Currency is collapsing. I want to say this before we head to this. I said this on BitBoy show this past week, Seth, and Trekk may understand this as well. Like, it looks like Brent Johnson, which is the guy that came up with the milkshake theory.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's going to be right.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the dollar is going to melt up and away. And honestly, we're in the best position as far as the United States is in the best position because all these other countries' debt is denominated in dollars. So they're going to just tank. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy how we've been the most irresponsible country of all of them, and yet we're gonna be come out on top, Seth. This
What do you
is
got?
crazy.
What do you got? Mind your business. What you got?
This is crazy.
It's just,
bro.
I mean, you're right. That it's just what you see is a guilty laugh because I mean, I like on the one hand, I feel ashamed because we're going to be the beneficiaries, like we're well positioned here in this country. But on the other hand, like shame on us. Like we got to figure out how to opt out of all of this toxic lending, right? And toxic money printing because we can't make it last forever, right? Like how many more cycles does we get?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It won't last forever for sure. But I think it's gonna have to be kinetic
So
for it to end. And that's not favorable for any of us.
So I read the article and then I was going through the list of the countries and I was like, I instantly thought of dude in the milkshake theory.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, like all of these countries are connected to the dollar. And that's what that boils down to. But the other thing that got me,
you see El Salvador on there. I highlighted that one.
Yeah, but that's why they've been moving away from being dollarized. That's precisely why they tried so hard to move away from just being dollarized. And they made this mistake 20 years ago, moving to the dollar from their own native colon, their own native currency. Right? I forget if it's the Salvadorian peso or colon, but like when they moved away from it 20 years ago, that's how they got into the situation now. So like, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of El Salvador's move to Bitcoin. I don't think it was the perfect move, but they knew they had to do something before they got stung by this, like you're saying, this milkshake theory, and seeing that the dollar is how all their debt became toxic because they owed in dollars but had to pay in pesos or whatever. So
okay, I don't think it's a piggyback point, but I'm gonna make a point on. So I think that the milkshake theory has a good amount of weight to it for how we see this situation right now. And when I say now, I'm using that in a time frame reference of like now to like 2025, right? But considering, again, some of the other things I pay attention to, this ain't me saying this is financial advice at all. But if you want to hear some of the other things, I talk about them on my 2 Satoshis, right? So, yeah. This scenario of the milkshake thing is like, what does that mean from now until 2025? Okay, it seems like we'll be in a dominant position, right? But what happens after 2030? Especially when you put in the context the development or the shifting of the geopolitical scenario where China, India, Russia, and I forgot the name for the other like 3 countries right now are like, listen, we're just going to move over into this multipolar world and screw that monopolar world thing that the U.S. has been basically turning and, stiff arming people on for the last 30 years. Where does that, like, in that mental exercise, in my mind, the milkshake theory has a sunset clause on it that does not go past 2030, if even 2025. And I mean, I look at it and I know most people will be like, well, hey, this is great because at least we're not in those country situations. I would argue that this piece was more of a distraction piece than anything. They'd be like, oh, look at over there. Look at those people. Look at those countries and how their governments and economies can't function right. Meanwhile, we got our situation going on with the labor statistics that just came out the other day. The CPI thing also dropped, and we get jerry-rigged numbers. And X amount of us know it, but no one really bats an eye. So, you know, pot calling the kettle black, yeah.
No, I mean, it's definitely, you know, I think we're good for a while, but once that deflation hits is when it's going to hit us hard. When those dollars come back home, I think it's going to be we're going to be in a very bad situation if we even get there. Like, we may go kinetic before then, Seth. I don't know.
Yeah, can I throw in sort of a little bridge article here? Take us kind of throw us back to 2018, and I know you guys remember because you were tracking this, but the Russian wheat settlement between Russia and Turkey. You remember that early 2018? It was 3 kilotons of wheat.
Okay.
3 kilotons of wheat. It was the first of its time. 3 kilotons of wheat transferred between Russia and Turkey. And they settled in Bitcoin because of international monetary sanctions. Because the freight system, I think it was a Prime Shipping Foundation, so I think that they are incorporated stateside. And so they were barred from being able to transact and facilitate this deal. Mm-hmm. They settled in Bitcoin. This was early 2018. So, I mean, I hate to hand this one to the maxis, but Bitcoin actually did fix this that time. So just that one time. Insane, but you know, bridge between the whole food growing and problems with the dollar and needing to potentially de-dollarize. Like, these things move in cycles. We saw these problems just with hard currency before. So, like, Bitcoin doesn't fix everything, but it is hopefully, as we get to the top of the S curve and it stabilizes, it solves the hard currency problem.
Yeah, it's just about timing, though. Everything in life is about timing, right? It's like, does Bitcoin stabilize when we're dead? Is it that far out? Like, it doesn't matter to me if that's the case.
Right.
You know, that's the big, you know, $1 trillion question. You want to add something, Trekk?
And this goes to that something that I've been trying to counter, this narrative that people are like, oh, China, Russia, like they're anti-crypto or they're anti-Bitcoin. Like, Russia's been doing their legislation things since last year, like actually implementing things within the financial regulation, right? And China's doing it the way they're doing it. I'm not saying I agree with the path that they're taking as far as the regulatory side of it, but the level of, I'm gonna say, ignorance to the activity that is going on between those two in particular geopolitical powers, it amazes me when I hear American folks talk. And what also gets me is you will have certain political people or government related people here do or say certain things that, at least to me, signal that this is some level of, like, this is happening. Case in point, at Consensus, what's the dude's name? Willie something Abidome. I can't remember his first name right now, but he's like he's the spearhead dude who's actually putting together the sanctions against Russia. And one of the things that he was talking about during his speech was how crypto needs to have more regulation on the law enforcement side because of things that they were worrying about with countries, and they used Russia as the example of circumventing sanctions. You don't just happen to make those speeches unless you see something coming up down the pike, and you don't you don't make those speeches unless you have something like already in the works. And that's what I took away from it. But that's just me.
This is a good question. Don't know how to, of course, pronounce that. But he said, do you see BRICS nations adopting Bitcoin as we move towards the bull market?
I mean, I'm not a fan of a couple of those countries in terms of their humanitarian policies, but I think if they were to adopt BTC moving towards a bull market, it'd be a power move, right? They would de-dollarize their international transactions. They would decrease their reliance on the IMF, who we've been, shit talking on this episode for good reason. And then, they would make themselves a lot more resilient towards international, like predatory lending and financial policy. Like they would absolutely cement their positions as world powers. Do I agree with those countries? No, but it'd be brilliant.
Here's my take on this. I actually think none of these countries will voluntarily adopt Bitcoin at any point. Like, I think Bitcoin only gets adopted in that, like, code red is like chaos. They have to flee to Bitcoin if that's the scenario. Other than that, no, they don't adopt Bitcoin at all, because that's throwing up, that's giving up. That's throwing in the towel, in my opinion. Them going to a decentralized, autonomous currency, hell no. That doesn't sound, especially China.
I can see. China and India as well. Russia to a lesser extent, because Russia has already been accepting Bitcoin for oil reserves. So they've already broken the seal there. With Russia, not too big a move. Brazil and South Africa, they've shown a kind of flexibility in the past, in terms of all kinds of economic policy and financial policy, where I could see it. And Brazil in particular, I could see potentially taking that risk, very much being risk on with Bitcoin. And it's sad, their current situation, because in the past, they've been a fully debt-free sovereign nation because of their production of sugarcane and other cash crops. And then, of course, they had so much extra in terms of their cash crops from biomass that they were producing their own alcohol to run their vehicles off of. So they had zero reliance on foreign oil. Like, Brazil is an interesting case study in that way. And it's sad to see them fall so far. But if they got involved in accepting Bitcoin, they would be a force to be reckoned with again.
J Crypto Minded, I think he hit the nail right on the head. Bitcoin gets adopted by circumstance. That's how I feel. Trekk.
I mean, the issue is going to be capital flight. Your citizens are going to figure out between the more open cryptocurrencies. I don't think that's going to be the stable coins, and the technologies that are more efficient in a peer-to-peer manner. And the governments are going to have to try to figure out, well, how do we work out to still have some level of influence within this currency system from the financial sense and the technology sense? Because look what Binance is doing with Kurdistan. I think it's Kurdistan. Like, they're advising their government on how to move into the mining sector because they have one of the cheapest power costs in that region, right? So governments are going to have to figure out something. It's either you're going to accept it as legal tender because X amount of your population is going to start moving around in either Bitcoin or one of these other cryptocurrencies, or you're going to try to do some kind of, where can we fit in within the infrastructure? Again, look at what the hell's the name of the place? Spain did. Is like, hey, if you come over here and you do development in the metaverse, in particular in Decentraland, like, we're gonna give you some incentives. Other countries are gonna pop up and figure out how to do their thing to get people to come over to their side. And I've been saying for how long, like, the US is gonna go through brain drain. I argue that we was doing it before COVID, but
Yeah, good point. Before we move on to macro topics here that kind of ties everything together for you guys, so you can come together or formulate your own strategy going forward here. let's talk about mixers. So if you guys aren't familiar with, I actually don't hear a lot of people talking about mixers. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of guys on YouTube about crypto because by the time I'm done for the day, I ain't watching the damn crypto video for the rest of the day. Do you see a lot of people talking about mixers on
I mean,
YouTube?
I do, but that's just kind of that's my wheelhouse. We talk about it very regularly on Mind Your Biz.
Yeah.
That's part of where the name comes from. It's not just about like hardware mining or proof of work mining, proof of stake mining.
You want to get in the mix of my biz?
No, I want those who would peer into my wallets to mine their biz, right? So that's privacy focused.
Yeah, no, it's very important that we talk about this subject of mixers because every mix or every time you mix is not necessarily for a nefarious reason or you trying to hide funds from the government. It's just leveraging this cryptography. That's where the word crypto comes from. It's cryptography. It's cryptography. That's what it's all about. So why not use tools in the space to keep yourself cryptic? This article talks about basically an inflow of mixer activity or Tumbler. I'm from the old school. I call them tumblers. What do you guys feel about this? I know the article says exactly where they see this activity coming from. I'll let you guys lead it and give your two satoshis on it. I'll start with you, Seth.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is near and dear to my heart. I'm just going to say the last time that I spoke to a crypto legal professional, this is not legal advice from me, just to relay it. The last time I spoke to a legal professional in the crypto sphere, in the blockchain ecosystem, I got the professional legal opinion that mixing cryptocurrencies is legal, provided you do it the right way. So what is the right way? Means not giving up custody to a third party, not giving up custody to a centralized entity. So it has to be a protocol. It can't be a platform.
Like a smart contract.
Yeah.
That you send and it disperses back to.
Yeah. So
what happens when they change that though? How do you feel? Because they're going to. Because that's going to be considered money laundering and all of that. That's what is going to be considered.
I mean, I can see that as a potential future where that maybe does happen, but we're still talking about maybes, and we're talking about likelihood. We're talking about right. We're talking about like what's the word I'm looking for here? Probabilities, right? We're talking about probabilities. As of right now, it is not illegal. So in the future, if they decide to somehow retroactively make it illegal, good luck with that. In the same way that, good luck with making free speech retroactively illegal, or good luck with, in this country, making the right to keep and bear arms retroactively illegal. You will have pushback. It'll be very difficult to enforce that. On blockchain,
it's going to be impossible.
It's a public record.
Yeah, it's going to be impossible to enforce it, I think. Or maybe not. Will it be? Because they can see if a coin is coming from multiple locations. That looks like that's a signature of a mix, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there are signatures. There are telltale signs on various different blockchains. Bitcoin mixing bears a certain signature. It's getting worked on by the groups that are interested in that. Ethereum and Ethereum-based tokens and EVM-based tokens, because there are mixers for not only Ethereum but Avalanche, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, all the majors, right? Arbitrum, Optimism. They can all use. They can share the code for smart contracts that help to mix those coins and tokens. But it, like you're saying, it bears a very, very unique signature. So it is obvious to see that something has been mixed. But what it does is it severs the link from one side of the chain to the other. So while you may be able to say oh, that's been mixed, you can't prove that it came from nefarious sources or from clean sources or from whatever else. So yeah, good luck proving intent retroactively. Hey, I was just about to send you some links.
Yeah, so I'm going to get more links from you guys. This is for everyone watching. If you want to start mixing your coins up, this is one reputable one here, Tornado.cash. They support the Ethereum network, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, a number of them. So definitely check them out if you guys want to start breaking that trail of surveillance on the blockchain, which is a beautiful thing that we can do that easily. I love it. Trekk, what's your thoughts?
Blood.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Seth?
While you're posting links, I sent you something in our private chat for Bitcoiners that may have bags on Bitcoin that they want to make private.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. This wallet is great. So, Trekk, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Basically, this was a shit piece article, and the reason why I say that is because one, they don't actually give you a hard number of what the increase in quote illicit activity is. All it did was say, hey, there are sanctioned quote accounts that we have seen started having more activity in what are known as tumblers or mixers, but there's no hard numbers in this, right? And then they cherry picked the information, or at least a passage from the chain analysis report that got submitted to the God, I forget what subcommittee that was in relation to like financial dealings of digital assets and cryptocurrency, but the dude who wrote the article basically cherry picked X amount of the info, and so to me, like, this is just another one of those, like, you know, scare the people away thing. Is there bad actors? 100% there's bad actors. But the irony about bad actors, right, is at least the phrase or the labeling of bad actors. We have a government, and most first-tier countries have a government that have some level of black budget, right? And if you actually dug down into what the money was used for, arguably, you would label those people bad actors. So for me, it's just one of those, like, what are we really doing here? Like, you're demeaning the ability of a human being to practice privacy. Now, granted, we could argue about, well, why do you want to do practice privacy? But that's another thing onto itself, right?
It doesn't require defense. It doesn't require an explanation.
Nope,
it's like
that's
asking, why do you want to have more than 2 cars? Why do I want to? Because it's none of your business. That's why I want to. Go away.
Mind your business.
Right. And so, yeah, that's how, like, I read through it and I was just like, yeah, but like, where are the numbers? Like, I see with the charts and certain graphs and stuff, but we're still not at the level of USD, which is another thing that gets me about the milkshake theory and how it doesn't account for the illicit activity that makes the dollar be the thing to suck up value from other currencies. Like, there's no hard account number for how much USD is outside of the US in global markets. Like, no economist can give you a hard number on that. They can estimate it's a big ass number, but no one knows. And that's going to be the downside, on a side note, of the whole milkshake thing that goes to your point before about when the money comes back in or when they try to pull it back. But anywho, yeah, I think the article was like a BS hit piece. Not talking bad about the dude in particular. This just might have been, hey, we need you to write this piece, and it just needs to have this tone in it. The dude could be a great guy,
Seth,
personally.
do you think this was a hit piece? I didn't look at it that way.
You know, I do. I didn't even consider it until Trekk brought it up. But here's another little data point that I think proves that. What actual mixer did they reference? They referenced a mixer that is centralized in its operation, which, by the current legal definitions, the last time I got a legal opinion on it, makes it borderline legal. So they're actually promoting by mentioning a mixer that would run afoul of legislators and law enforcement today under current definitions. This was a very bad faith article.
Yeah, and it's funny, they have, of course, the main ones we like to pick on and you know, transfer all issues that we come across in the world. Russia and North Korea, they're showing the highest volumes in illicit or mixing coming from them. I think that's how I'm perceiving that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think as you guys said, you know, this is our right to be private. Thank God we have blockchain and cryptography to do that with no problem. No one can stop that. I don't care what sanctions, what they deem illegal, legal. You'll always be able to mix your coins.
I hope so. There are some problems with that too. When it comes to this technology, like, we have to be savvy users of the technology, because not all mixers are coded equal.
Yeah, no
so,
doubt.
Like, yeah, the two that you recommended on here on CBTV, they're sound, they're vetted. The best in the business would recommend these.
Absolutely.
Can I also say
Check 'em out.
PSA, but not public financial advice? Non-KYC, I'm going to say at this point Bitcoin, but I would imagine maybe after 2025 or around thereof, non-KYC crypto is going to matter and is going to be set apart some way, somehow, at least how I look at things, from KYC crypto.
What does that mean, though? What are the
That
ramifications
means
of
that if you had your crypto touch any type of centralized exchange or centralized entity that was able to log your address, right, your public wallet address, down the road, there is going to, I don't know what the event could be to trigger it, but I imagine that there will be a distinction made between non-KYC crypto and KYC crypto.
Oh,
The
like
maxi-
whitelisted addresses, essentially, is what you're saying. Whitelisted and blacklist. Well,
I don't want to know. I don't even want to
versus
say
non-list.
whitelist, blacklist, but it could, because that's like too broad of a term. Because you could still have an address that's not KYC'd and whitelisted on something. But I'm talking KYC level stuff where you went through something centralized that's able to tag it back to your real world identity.
Yeah. No, that's dangerous. That is the only way they'll be able to ring fence and cut us off.
The mapping is happening now, though. That's why I don't like messing with airdrops.
Okay. It was so funny seeing it down in at Bitcoin 20. No, it's actually, did I see them at Bitcoin 22? No, I saw them in Austin at Consensus. I saw Chainalysis down there. They had a huge booth. I'm like, wow.
They got no love.
People should have been kicking down, burning that booth to the ground. But they weren't, man. They don't understand. It's all good.
Chainalysis is a B2B business, though. But you still have to be out there.
But it affects us directly.
It 100% does. But that's not how the education around what they do is being presented. It's being presented like, is it a valid business model? 100% yes, because there is a number of private companies, public companies, and government related companies that will pay for that service. So it's 100% a valid business thing, right?
Absolutely.
Now, on the end of how we look at privacy and being able to enforce that, we get into the whole ethics of like, you know, you're doing that to counter my privacy. F you, you're wrong. But
yeah,
go ahead, Seth.
Yeah. So just on that note, I'm gonna pick on that thread and say I'm glad that Chainalysis exists in this world, precisely because if we're going to pay somebody to try to figure out whether or not privacy is broken, I'd rather that come from the private sector. I'd rather that come from businesses, a B2B entity like that. And then when they do find exploits or when they are able to track people down, like, good job, you figured it out. Like now we actually know where we have to build, where we have to protect, where we have to defend.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Let's get to this rally we've seen. It's been crazy, and it's actually surprising me because the rally is occurring in stocks as well as, of course, cryptos, which is what this channel is primarily about. We're seeing a bounce off that trend line, Seth, and oh man, your buddy Michael Saylor, I don't know, he may be able to go back to MicroStrategies real soon, leaving McDonald's for bigger and better things. If we still keep this trend, you're not convinced. Okay, we're going to get to that for sure. But we're definitely seeing a rally in stocks, in cryptos. And it really, to me, as I stated before, I'm pretty perplexed because, I mean, we just saw a print of 9.1 Trekk CPI. That's the highest we've seen in 40 years. To me, a print like that just tells me that they're going to increase interest rates, not at the pace of 75 basis points like they have the last few months, but they're going to bump it up. Maybe 100 basis points, maybe 125 now. So basically putting the brakes on the economy even more. This is not a good print, a 9.1, yet we saw a rally. What do you guys think? I'll start with you, Trekk.
Like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm bad at the numbers, right? I sucked in high school and college at the various maths that you have to deal with. But when I look at certain things from a qualitative observation perspective of conversations that I have directly with people, paying attention to smarter people than me who really do get this stuff and study it and can like recall the history events from like 30 years back, there's certain trends, there's certain patterns. There's like, yeah, this shit is going up the creek and it's going to be a lot of screwed people. Like, what did I hear the other day? I think one of the food services, they now are offering you the ability to do the buy now and pay later.
Oh wow, are you serious?
Like, put that shit into the perspective, y'all.
Hey, but if you had to go into debt, it would definitely be good to go in debt over food. You
Right.
gotta survive. I would run that tab to the freaking tilt.
Now
And
I don't
run
know
off
the
on the plug
details of
twice.
it, and I don't remember the platform, so I don't want to say the wrong name. But if something like that is being offered, and then you see things like this as far as like what the numbers look like in the market, and like I said earlier, they've been padding the numbers for what our CPI looks like. They readjust the numbers every 30 to 60 days after the official push out for the labor statistics. I mean, it looks to me like the perfect cocktail of, oh snap, stuff is really messed up out here, but we over here talking about other second and third tier countries like everything is all good in the hood, like this was Ice Cube, today was a good day. No, it's not. Like, and I'm not saying there aren't folks out there who are savvy enough to make money in the areas that they're in. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that the bigger part of the population though is going through stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Seth.
I have concerns. Mistakes were made. Like Trekk is saying, if we got to the point where you can finance your food, without giving advice, I'm just saying, I want y'all to figure out, okay, if you think things are really that bad for your food, I want you to calculate what the cost of a ticket to Cozumel, Mexico would be, because it's going to take you about $1,000 US per month to live like a king there, all food included. And then maybe do a strategic default on your current living situation. Because if you're financing your food and you earn more than $1,000 a month, your life is going to hell.
Yeah, but
and you need to figure out a better way.
The issue is though with that, if you're going to move to Cozumel, you got to continue to earn money in dollars. That's the only way it would work.
True.
Remote first. Quit your job. Go fishing. I'm just saying, man. Like there are better ways. There are people in developing nations who are not having to figure out like, oh, do I have to like auction off my children's future in order to go to that stream and catch dinner? Just saying. It's
So, Seth,
it's how you trade your hours for dollars.
What is your take on this print we saw? 9.1, highest in 40 years, and like kind of give us some context with that print and where we're going in the markets. Is that good for Bitcoin or is that bad for Bitcoin and cryptos?
I think overall it's probably good for Bitcoin. But what does that mean by way of retail reaction to it? I mean, we're going to see a lot more of the middle of all the markets disappear because people are clawing to maintain a livelihood. I think like Trekk was saying about the financing of the food, it's a very bad sign for middle-class America who is under attack right now. Like there's no two ways about that because the ultra wealthy are fine. They're still leveraging the assets that they still own because they don't have to sell anything. The poorest of the poor are suffering big time because they didn't have anything to begin with. They certainly can't sell anything. And even if they were selling, nobody's buying their old crap. It's middle America that's going to be absolutely like very much like nuked by this kind of action and CPI.
So is this rally that we're seeing from the lows of $17,000 Bitcoin? Is this a true, next
another
leg
suckers
up?
rally? It's another suckers rally. I don't believe it. I've got a little chart here that I'd love to share if you
Sure,
want me to do a quick share here.
Yep.
But I'm gonna let me make sure I can share the right side of my screen.
All right. While he's doing that, I'll get your feedback, Trekk.
So this actually made me think of a report that I think JP Morgan put out, or one of their analytic people put out, where they were like, yeah, we don't really see the crypto market affecting the economy like that in regards to the downturn. And I didn't agree with the dude because my thought process was this, and I understand firsthand what it is to be a forced hand. Okay, hashtag forced hands. A lot of y'all gonna be out here learning what that hashtag mean. Here's why. Because during 2018,
is there any correlation with Reggie's patent in that?
You're right though.
Forced hand.
Yeah, if you go off of what I understand for the patent, yes. But I'm gonna get back to this forced hand thing, right? The basic idea is you got bills, you need to live your life. I said it when COVID first started rolling around and we started getting these stimmy checks. It had people thinking that they could live like more than upper middle class. And then we have all these different share as services that allow us to do things in a more relaxed, convenient lifestyle, right? Now, get down to where job consolidation happens, money spending happens, and like you got your crypto side bags, right? But now you got to figure out, okay, am I going to do food or am I going to do the luxury life of food and like the other things that I could do? Oh, you got that new Tesla? But you can't do the maintenance on it anymore, right? You can't be out here. Yo, bro, like chicken is damn near up there with like steak. And I'm not saying they're the exact same numbers, but chicken has gone up ridiculously here in the States. And I've been in multiple states on the East Coast to notice the uptick in price. My point is,
glad I don't eat chicken.
This thing is happening. And I think that X amount of the folks that are in the crypto space, especially for the ones who were just about chasing the bag, they're going to end up being forced hands, and they're going to have to use all of the crypto earnings or X amount of their crypto earnings to be able to deal with maintaining their cost of living. But you're still going to have the inflation. And like, even with this, when they do raise up the points and all that, from what I understand, it's still a lag. Like you still got what, like a 3 month or like 6 month lag. So it's still going to be the things happening on ground with people who are going to have to find ways to be able to convert out or figure out how to use some of the businesses that offer like the cards that you could convert over to like spend. So like what's it called? Fold and Lolly and them. Those might be, I would argue they might probably see an uptick in business over the next like 36 months, but it ain't going to last per se, but they might get a wave, right? Because people are going to have to find ways to exit out of their crypto bag position. And I'm not saying it's going to be everybody, but it's going to be a number of people who are going to have to figure out how to survive in this thing, especially if you spent like 2-3 years of not doing a traditional job and not upskilling yourself or expanding your knowledge base. Those are the two things that I think a lot of people got lazy and really forgot about during the whole C19 period. And then like looking at, well, all right, we're quote post that, but how have you improved yourself? And if you don't care about the technology, because it's all about chasing the bag, what have you really done? How insulated are you?
Yeah, good point. Good point. Seth, let's take a look at this chart really quickly.
So I call this the Mind Your Biz patented chopsticks because it's about as technical as it looks. So these two chopsticks are just the trend, just in my view, right? Not hashtag not financial advice. It's just my view of the general trend that we've been following for a while. This is a daily chart over on TradingView, free tools. I'm not even using any advanced indicators. Just got MACD at the bottom. But in my personal opinion, you asked, is this a good rally? No, volume is dropping as we move up. So I really do personally think that at the end of this rally, we are going to see that volume actually go back up again as price turns down, right? And we're going to see exactly as we saw on the most recent leg down. We're going to see a return to a similar movement, and then we're going to see, of course, MACD reflect that. Once it flips bearish, we start printing a bearish MACD histogram, and that may bring us back into that channel that I've been seeing us kind of slide down, give or take. You're like, we're breaking to the upside and the downside of it. But that channel, I really do see us following that channel kind of loosely until we see the bottom hit in Bitcoin of anywhere between like a sustainable bottom of anywhere between like 12 to 14K. We're going to basically hit roughly just below the bare cost to produce a Bitcoin in most markets with the current cost of electricity. And then hopefully the competition on Bitcoin then falls off the network. So we do see the price to mine one full Bitcoin dip below that level. But I mean, I don't fully agree with Richard Hart. He's calling for like 10K, or nor do I agree with Wendy and Ben, right? BitBoy, who are saying like they've got orders in for 9. I mean, good luck with that. Maybe it wicks down and you get an order filled. But I don't think that's sustainable. And if you're trying to manually execute a trade, good luck catching $9,000 Bitcoin. But I do think we're going to see low teens. And I think this trend is going to take us there.
Interesting. So guys, have that dry powder ready and load in the boats. I think this is a sucker's rally as well. I think the markets are mispricing what we're seeing on this CPI print. I think that the markets, in my opinion, they've rallied this week. Maybe it's just a relief rally. You just need any reason to, rally. We've been so beaten down in cryptos and in stocks. But I will say, I think the market feels like the Fed is just going to do a 75 basis point move hike and not 100. I think they're going to do 100, and then we're going to get a course correction in the markets. I don't know when the next rate hike is supposed to be announced, but I definitely feel like the next hike is going to be a catalyst for the next leg down. So look out for that, ladies and gentlemen. J Crypto Minded says he sees 13,800. It's possible. It's possible. Yeah. Definitely possible. I think that is pretty much it, guys. Trekk, you were wrong, bro. We got through this whole thing in an hour and 30 minutes, my friend.
It was still 2 stories, bro.
What 2 stories is that?
It was the one with the dial pops and... All right, I guess you like combine that together and
see,
okay, all right.
See,
all right, you did it.
Yeah, I did it. Now, the last thing I want to ask you guys, and I'll start with Trekk. What are you looking at this week? Kind of give people what your frame of mind is for this week in crypto.
Shit, what is my frame of mind?
You're working on projects and stuff.
It's basically to be on my projects till I got to deal with drill next weekend, and then the rest of the month.
I didn't know you were a drill
man.
rapper.
Listen, the rest of the month is just focusing on the things that I'm working on between the app, the DAO thing, the webinar on Wednesday about like realty in the Metaverse stuff. And then I'm going out to a event that Sorge is doing at the end of the month. So, yeah, that's
going
my
out to
attention.
Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll see you out there.
All right, bet.
I'll be teaching. I'll be teaching a few of the courses there.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
shout out to Storage. Definitely shout out to Storage. They're trying to educate the community in the right way, in my opinion.
I don't know why they gotta do it so far though, bro.
On Lake Minnetonka.
Man, listen. Anyway, but yeah, like as far as new stuff, bro, I think what
should people look out for this week? Yeah, what should they be looking out for?
Like considering all of the stuff that's coming out on the business side, I still argue it's if you're not out here trying to expand your knowledge base to understand more on like what was the faulty issues with these companies and why their revenue models did not sustain as long as they marketed and projected to be. And then if you're on the techie side of it, like just start dabbling and figuring out, what part of the space tech wise draws you in. And I'm not saying like do it on the level of like, oh, I need to change my careers and jump into this space. Like, this is not a lifestyle for everybody. I say this all the time. Like the last 4 or 5 years has been a hell of a roller coaster in trying to be in this space in the full sense of I want to be about this and be about the tech and not be a bag chaser. And I'm not disparaging any bag chasers out there. Get your money, right? Also, remember to pay your taxes if you live in this place called the USA. I'm just saying. But keep your head on the swivel for the news. Like, yo, stuff is dropping so crazy fast. Vive, who does digital assets, not NFTs, they just released a thing saying they're going to allow, they turned on the feature for you to exit out of their coin token thing, right? So you can now sell your actual digital assets on their platform.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
it's a custodial wallet.
That's a step in the right direction a little bit, right?
But I think that it's going to be a crazy dump once they actually, because you got a KYC first to be able to exit with selling your stuff and then exit whatever tokens you collected. So that's assuming it's still holding. I don't even know if their version of a stable coin, which I think is Omni or whatever, is even holding the level, right?
Gotcha.
And I honestly haven't been paying any attention for the last couple months, but I know I've seen that thing pop up. I think that folks are going to look to exit quick as hell once they actually turn it on and be like, all right, y'all can start selling now. Yeah. And then, X amount of folks are going to run with the bag.
Interesting. Seth, what should people be looking forward to this week in crypto?
Wow, I think this week in crypto, I think you highlighted a comment that is kind of a known unknown right now. So just be prepared for the other shoe to drop. If we see another bankruptcy somewhere else in the custodial space, like I wouldn't be shocked, unfortunately. I mean, and they say the bad news happens in threes. Have we already had our third bankruptcy? Are we out of the woods yet? I think we're probably pretty close, right? But maybe not, right? Like I said earlier on the show, like whenever asked, can it get worse?
Right? We've had Voyager and now Celsius.
Yeah, right. So possibly the third thing is going to happen. Yeah, we'll see another one. I would just say, like Trekk is saying, be mindful of what cryptos you have on exchange. Exit, check to see the user policies, see if it is possible. Like Blood was saying on today's episode, if it is possible, you're not violating the terms of service of the centralized exchanges that you use. The moment you take them off, sever the trail by exercising your legal right to crypto privacy, and then put those into your own cold storage wallets and maintain your good records. Like Trekk is saying, when the tax man asks for his due, but do make the chain private for yourself. That's what I would say. I mean, it's not news coming up this week in crypto. I'm a broken record on this topic though. Like, stay off exchange, become more private. There are going to be more and more entities who are not government and who are not your friend trying to log and make note of your crypto transactions and look at your wallets.
Absolutely. And you can always find Trekk on Twitter. Trekk with 2 Ks. Check them out there. And also Seth over at _biz. I appreciate you guys taking an hour and 38 minutes out of your life to come on CBTV. Trekk has taken even more of those hours out of his life contributing on CBTV. So I appreciate you for that, brother. But that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Please hit those like booties. They appreciate it. It's your boy Crypto Blood. We out of here. Oh, yeah, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode under our belt, number 82. Make sure you guys go follow Trekk and Seth from Mind Your Biz. And definitely follow CBTV for your latest and greatest and most informative news during your week. We hit you with it on a daily basis. And the most hottest, the most famous, the most interesting crypto interviews in the game. We out of here, people. Holla!
Stacking my coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum.